Hi, I'm Lou with another episode of My Car Story, and I just happened to be running past North Avenue and the Pheasant Run, and they had a Corvair show going on, so I thought, there might be a rare Corvair in there that I thought you guys might want to see, and lucky enough, I met the Shades, Phil and Chris, and they happen to have, well, one of the rarest Corvairs around. So I'm going to start with Phil. Phil, you had the first Corvair and got your son into this. How did that happen?
I was in the Army in Germany in 1956 to 58 and had a Porsche Speedster and got married not too long after I got back, and that obviously meant the Porsche was not practical, but General Motors came out with the Corvairs, and I thought, that's a poor man's Porsche. Now, that's often joked about by people, but in fact it was true with me.
And so you got your son involved in it, and I'm going to grab him if that's okay. Can I take him?
Certainly.
All right, thanks. So Chris, you restore Corvairs.
I do.
When did you find this one? What year did you find this one?
I found this one in 2013.
And what is this car? What year, make, and model?
Sure, it's a 1966 Yenko Stinger. In 1966, Don Yenko wanted to get the Corvair and make it as a race car, and so SCCA required that you had 100 of these cars that were tagged accordingly to qualify to race for SCCA, and this was a Class D production car. And so he bought 100 1966 white Corvair Corsas, all built the same, and shipped them in and frantically painted them, did engine work to them, created technically 5 different stages of them. Most of them were stage 1 or 2 car, and then sold them as race cars.
Come right alongside me. Keep talking about it. Come right here. I want to start showing the car.
You bet.
So here's the Stinger. Now go ahead. So some of the pieces on this car are all custom. And again, you restore cars. I'll put that in the text so people can find you in the Corvair section.
Absolutely.
Tell me about this one. Go ahead.
So the paint scheme you can see right away is different. The stripe, it's got a 6-inch stripe with a 1-inch gap and another 1-inch stripe. That was unique to all the Yenkos. They had these stickers you'll see on the front. There's also 2 on the sail panels on the side of the car and then 1 on the glove box, so they were identifying. The blue underneath here of the bumper that then goes around to the side of the car was part of his paint scheme along with the blue stripe. And there are some other modifications that he did to them as well, including the deck lid on the back of the car, which I can show you.
Let's show the side of the car first. Let's step back. And we'll give it an overall side shot. And
so on the side you'll see there's a sail panel, they call it, in the rear window. So Don Yenko removed the rear seat, lightened them up a bit, created a coupe look, and this sail panel that is below the drip rail, the chrome drip rail here, was just to make it look different, look like a coupe. That's why he did that, and then he put his sticker there to identify it as well.
And we're going to take a look at the interior, but as you just heard, well, there's no back seat. And this car did not look like this. This was, correct me if I'm wrong, bought as in a box.
It was a bucket of bolts when I bought it in 2013, yes. It was previously owned by, this one is YS076, so it's the number 76 out of the first 100 cars. Charlie Dirge out of North Carolina at the time owned it, and he raced it for many years. He had it since 1987. Raced it a lot, wrote a book called Don Yenko and the Yenko Stinger, and on the front cover is this car before it was restored. But then we purchased it in 2013 and did a rotisserie restoration. So every nut and bolt on this entire car has been removed and repaired and refurbished or replaced, and to get it to this level.
Before we go to the engine compartment, which is the coup de grace of this car, can we take a look at the, I heard another Corvair person call it a frunk, which is the front trunk.
Sure.
I hadn't heard that before, but I thought that was pretty cool. And I just want to show you why I'm showing you this. Well, because it's perfect. And
that was a unique aspect of the Stingers too. In 1966, the Corvairs had a single master brake cylinder, and he took
let me show the underside of this car too.
dual master and put them on.
You can see the spoiler, but I'll just grab the camera and do that. I mean, this thing's perfect top to bottom. Thank you.
Every nut and bolt's been removed.
That's crazy. Phil, you're responsible for this.
Started the man.
He started it. Man, is that great. All right, I'll work my way back around. We've got our little side window here. Obviously, we have our stripe up the center and our Yenko badge. Okay,
And the idea of the exhaust also, they were headered, and then exhausts were they cut out so that they could run through here because of the headers, the design of the headers. And so that's different than a normal Corvair as well. This one has headers with Flowmasters on it. A little bit different than the original ones from Don Yenko, but has a nice sound, I think you'll see.
Okay, I'm looking forward to hearing that sound. Let's take a look under the engine compartment. So now they had the turbo Corvairs, and these were them.
Nope, these were the 140. So a Corsa came
gotcha.
standard with a 4-carb 140 horsepower engine. The turbo was an option, but for racing purposes, Don chose the 140s and modified them with different cams, some head work, things of that nature.
Gotcha.
Carburation, exhaust, to beef them up. So a standard 140 was a stage 1 car would have 160 horsepower. And a stage 2 car would be 190 horsepower. This is a stage 2 car from the day it was made.
Okay. This is glass, fiberglass?
Fiberglass, yeah. The deck lids were also part of that Yenko transformation cosmetically. The integrated spoiler and then the scoops pulling more air in the engine compartment for cooling, carburation, etc. Obviously important on an air-cooled engine.
We're going to leave this for a moment. Let's go to the interior for just a second. Now there's a couple of badges, right?
Yes.
You shared that this badge here is important to match with another badge, which we'll share in a second.
Correct. That is the YS badging. So the numbered badging.
The Yenko Stinger, the YS.
Yep, Yenko Stinger.
And now where was that matched back here?
Well, your VIN is going to match, and your build tag. So your VIN number here and your build tag over there.
Okay, so let's... Here's my build tag.
So those three together, obviously, you're going to identify the car.
Kind of a 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And we've got the third one as I already shared there.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Let me show that. Panel.
You also notice when you look at the body, all the Corvair and Chevy emblems are removed. So there are no identifying tags because these aren't a Corvair technically, they're a Yenko Stinger.
Okay.
This one was optioned with the telescoping wood wheel from the day it was made. And then at the Yenko dealership, you could also get some add-ons, one of which on this car was the roll cage was added.
So now where is the roll cage added? Does Don Yenko add that, or does that...
At the Yenko dealership, he had a catalog of options that you could add onto the Stinger to make them customized, I guess, to your will. So a roll cage was one of them. There were many other options as well that they would be dealer installed in.
Nice little instrumentation, very cockpit feeling. And we have, is that Lynn Yenko?
Yes, Lynn Yenko, we host a race event, my business, in Nebraska, and she came down as our featured guest in 2015. So
that's cool.
She signed my glove box as we were restoring it.
Got it. So obviously we've got a radio delete here.
Yeah.
And then that Stinger badge does come on the inside of the car?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. That was one of the identifying badges.
Okay. And obviously the 4-speed ball.
There was some confusion too there were 115 COPO cars. So COPO meaning Central Office Production Order. And in 1966 the first 100 were white because SCCA rules. They had to be white. And so Don ordered 100 of these 66 Corsa coupes and transformed them into Yenko Stingers. And then in 1967 there were 11 blue Stingers and then 3 red Stingers. So that'd be 114 total.
Yeah.
And then in 1969 there was one more COPO Stinger, and that was the Goodyear car. From my understanding, Goodyear contacted him and said, hey, I need a car that can do 140 on the track to tire test these tires that we're making, 13-inch tires. And so Don made it was a stage 4 car. Bob Dennehy owns that one out of Iowa. and restored it, and that was made to test the tires for Goodyear. So it doesn't have a sail panel, it has a Goodyear emblem on the side, but it was actually a Copo car, Yenko Stinger.
With your dad being a Corvair guy, you turning into a Corvair restorer, what was your first Corvair that you recall?
My first one was a 1965 Corsa convertible with a 140 engine.
How old were you?
16. Yep. So I sat in him for years. My dad owned a 65 Corsa since I was, I think, 4. I used to sit in it all the time.
Is this where is there anything unique in the gas?
Just a normal gas tank. They're up front, obviously, because of the engine's in the back.
Got it. Okay.
They don't blow up. That's kind of...
Got it. So let's fire it, shall we?
You bet.
Let's let it idle, and then we'll give it a good rev. The Yenko Stinger, the top notch. Wow. That brings a smile to Dad's face. Wow. Stand next to each other, gentlemen. Holy cow. You're obviously one that the poor man's Porsche didn't sound like that back in the day.
No.
Wow.
Neither did the Porsche version of it.
Right. So this is such a fun toy. No wonder they race these things. I had no idea.
Yeah, most people don't. They were the first Yenko produced. Everybody thinks the Camaros, the Novas, Chevelles, but the Corvair was the first one Yenko modified. It was the only one he produced for racing. The other ones were just modifications, never became like official race cars for SCCA like these were. So a lot of people are confused, don't even know that that was the case.
Well, we learn now, and people subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, say, because this is thumb up type stuff. I am really pleased that this is completely by accident. Stopped, saw the Corvair show, said maybe there's a Stinger in there, met you guys. What a wonderful time. Phil, I had so much fun with you before we video this. I had so much fun with Chris. And again, I'll put a little note on how to find you, and people can contact you that way. Thanks so much, guys, for being on My Car Story.
Our pleasure. Thank you.